Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So before we get into this video, obviously we got a tuner for the KLX300, one that you might not have expected. I figured I would give you guys a little bit of an update. Had to get a couple of classes done so I can get my master's done early. We got pretty much all the parts we need for the KLX450 swap. We got an awesome exhaust for the KX450. I went down to the desert to make some videos. We did awesome hill climbs, climbed like 6,000 feet up, something like that, top of weather stations, buttes, all that. That was an absolute blast. I've been working on my truck here to get it running so I can haul my bikes to the trails, obviously, since I kind of burnt out the power steering pump. So I replaced that, upgraded that, but I figured I'd give you guys an update so you know what's going on. So we got the parts for the KLX, obviously, as you're gonna see in this video, to complete stage one. Let's go ahead and get the tuner on the KLX. Tuner that we've known about since the second day of having the KLX. Also, before we get going into this video is going to have a lot of information in it. You know, why we're choosing the Power Commander versus some other controllers out there, how that's going to benefit the bike. The install will be on my brother's channel, like I said in the last video. Installs will be on his channel within a couple days here. We'll take it up around the block real quick too to see some initial impressions, how it changes the bike. But there's going to be a lot of explaining, so let's go ahead and get it on the bike. Alright, so second day of ownership with the KLX300 here. Already tearing it apart because we are checking to see if the Power Commander from the 250 is going to interface with the 300. I'm pretty sure it will. I'm not sure yet though. We're going to take my friend's Power Commander because I ordered two when I ordered one for my KLX, and we're going to see if it works. So we're going to go ahead and try and hook it up and see if we can't get a reading off of it. Alright, I'm 99% certain that it's going to work. The injector connector is right there, and it's the same as the KLX250. So when my friend gets over here with the Power Commander, we're going to go ahead and test that. But I'm pretty certain it's going to work, and that means we'll be able to get custom dyno tunes for fuel. And yeah, so that's great. That means we already have a tuner for the 300.
Do we have to take off these guys as well?
Yeah.
Or is there a way that we can just unhook them and leave them on the tank?
Probably just easiest to take them off.
Try to save time.
I mean, you did show up 30 minutes earlier than I expected, so.
Yeah, you show up 15 minutes early to the 15 minutes early.
When I say 10, 10 is just 10.
No. 15 minutes early to the 15 minutes early.
10 is just 10 when we're going riding. If it's for like work, sure, but
for everything,
nah. Alright, so my friend's uncorked KLX250 here. He has a Power Commander, just like the one I have on my 250, and that's why I checked the injector here the other day to see if it was the same, and it looks like it is. So we're going to see if the Power Commander interfaces with the new 300, and if it does, we already have a tuner for it. Alright, Power Commander on.
Oh.
Almost. Gonna get my laptop, see if it interfaces. We get a throttle position reading, and things are looking pretty good, I'd say. Don't you, Mr.
Looks clean.
Yeah, Mr. Doubter. Let's go PCFC. Turn the throttle. Oh, turn the throttle.
Like, guess you needed to start it up. We got RPM. Haha, nice. That's what's up. Alright, out on the street, testing out the Power Commander real quick. As you can see, no fairings. Just wanted to get on the road, see how this thing does. Bottom end is greatly improved. Haha. Wow, this thing pulls so much better.
is the controller that works on the KLX300. As you guys saw, power commander off of my KLX351. Now you're probably thinking, why would you take the controller off the 351? Looks like you're just done with the 351. No, I'm not. And actually, this controller is not going to be the final controller for either bike because, well, we're going to get this ignition issue fixed. That's all I can say at the moment. But obviously I don't need the 351 controller right now for the 351 since we are doing the 450 swap. So we're going to put it on the 300 and get this baby uncorked. So yeah, the power commander, most people probably didn't think about that. All it's really doing is controlling how much fuel is going to the injector, RPM versus throttle. So that's why the controller works on the 300 here. So here we got it, the DynoJet Power Commander fuel controller off of the 351 going on to the 300. It is part number FC17900E, but you can't find that in the US. It is actually EFC17900E. Put links in the description, places where you can get it. That'll ship to the US. But let's go ahead, slap it on the bike, and get it interfacing with the laptop in 3, 2, 1. And boom, just like that, we got the controller on the bike. All right, guys, here we go. Turn on the key. All right, cool. We are on, and as you can see, here is my custom tune for the 351, but that's going to be way too much fuel for the 300. So I have my map saved, obviously, in multiple places, but we're going to go to map, say 2 here. There we go, map 2. And we are going to set that all to 0. Okay, send map. There we go. Map 2 all 0. Now we are going to set our fuel trims for now until we get a custom tune here. Show you guys. We'll go 3. We'll go 3 for the mid-range. Then up top, I know we need some fuel, so we'll try 4 for now. So that's what we're gonna run right now until we get custom tune on here. 3, 3, 4, 30% more fuel in the lower mid-range, 40% in the upper range, just so we can get a little bit more benefit. That's what my friend is running on his 250, but we definitely need to get this on the dyno so we can get the full benefits of the fuel controller. But for now, let's go ahead and start her up. Throttle position is working. Another important thing worth noting is that we are running the stock O2 sensor with the controller for now until we get a custom tune. We have an O2 bypass, but we're going to use the O2 sensor for the idle circuit because it's kind of important to have that if you don't have an actual tune on the bike. And what the O2 bypass is going to do is when you get a tune on the bike, it's going to allow you to tune the lower RPM range, but with the O2 sensor in place, the O2 sensor is going to be doing that work for us. Starts up nice and smoothly. Let's go ahead and get geared up, test it out real quick, and then I'll talk about why we're going with this controller versus some other controllers out there. Alright, we are out for a short ride on the KLX here with the fuel controller on just to test it out, see if there's anything worthwhile. A, because I kind of forgot that I broke the taillight. B, it's raining. And C, kind of forgot to put the license plate on here too. So, quick ride. Let's see how the bike changed, if any, with the fuel controller on. We should have a slight gain, I'd expect, in the mid-range up top with that extra fuel and the exhaust. She feels a lot spicier with the exhaust. I'm sure the tuner helps a bit. Mid-range punch is definitely there now. kind of feels like it makes power like the big bore when I had my KLX, just the 351. Some of you may be wondering, why does this controller work? Or why this controller might be a better alternative to the other controllers out there. Well, it works because basically it's just adjusting the percentage of fuel to the injector. So you can get a custom tune, and basically the tuner is just controlling how much fuel is going to the injector at RPM versus throttle percentage. That's why I had the idea of trying this thing out when we got the KLX, because it should work. And with the EJK, you can't take a 250 EJK and put it on a 300 or vice versa, because they're probably going to have different tunes on them loaded from EJK. Once I get a tune on the Power Commander here for fueling, I should be able to distribute that out for you guys. For those of you who want to actually know what's going on behind the scenes with the Power Commander and the tune on the bike. Another thing compared to the EJK, I'll talk about this once we get back to the garage when I'm dry. With the EJK, you can feel the transition zones. I don't really like that. My friend commented about that when I had the big bore on the bike. You can feel it transition from the yellow zone to the red zone when you're coming back down, the yellow zone to the green zone. The Power Commander really just pulls smooth all the way throughout the RPM range. That was a red light, buddy. Alright, we'll get one pull here on the highway, then we'll go back to the house and I'll talk a little bit more as to why we're going to run a Power Commander versus something like the EJK. This thing just sounds menacing. So back to the garage we go, but don't you worry, we are going to be getting the KLX on the trails to test it out next video. Alright, so back in the garage, back in the dryness of the garage, that is. So why did we go with the Power Commander versus the EJK? Well, one of the main reasons is because I like being able to see what's going on behind the scenes with the tune, and you might be thinking, well, I don't really care what goes behind the scenes with the tune. The thing with the EJK is that it's kind of running off of one size fits all. They tune one bike, wherever that may be, and especially if you do the O2 bypass, it's up to you to tune the bike to get it to where it needs to be. So I'll talk about my example here. With the big bore, if I wanted to get the EJK tuned, I have to go to a dyno. Most dyno tuners don't want to work with the EJK. They're like, okay, well, you move this light up half a light, move this one down. They don't really like working with that. Most tuners are trained with the DynoJet Power Commander or with the fuel percentage tables. So even if you go to a dyno, try to get a custom tune with the EJK, it's just going to be a pain in the butt. It was a pain in the butt when I was trying to work with the 351. Obviously, you guys know that I like to extract the most potential out of my machines, so the Power Commander fuel controller is going to allow us to do that. You're going to be able to go to a dyno, get a custom tune. They're going to be able to get a nice flat line for the AFR. Probably around 12.8 is what we're aiming for. With the EJK, people who don't go to a dyno, heck, they could be running at 13.5, they could be running at 12.0, just because their seat of the pants butt dyno feels like it's working good. So you might be saying, well, you can just send the EJK back to EJK to get the tune on the bike. That's probably going to put the bike down for about a week, versus here, you can just go to a dyno tuner and you're right there, the bike's there locally, you can ride the bike and you'll have a custom tune on the bike. But especially with anything custom like the 351 Barker exhaust ported head, that would be a big pain to go back and forth with the EJK. You send it to them, they make adjustments because they don't have your bike, you take it back, put it on the bike, go to the dyno, it needs more adjustments, take it off, send it to them. You have to pay the return shipping each time, so that's not really something I want to deal with. Now, the EJK will probably work for a lot of people. A lot of people probably don't want to get too extreme with their tune. They just slap it on there. If it improves the bike a little bit, then great. That's all people care about. But I want to make sure that I'm doing it right, getting the proper numbers
and getting the dyno numbers for you guys so you know what the bike is capable of. So that's why we're running the Power Commander fuel controller. So now, like I said, with the fuel controller for now, we are going to be running the O2 sensor that you can see down in there. That's because the O2 sensor is used for the idle circuit on the bike. You bypass that without a tune, then your bike is just trying to idle without that input from the O2 sensor. But you eliminate the O2, you take it to a dyno tuner, they tune the low RPM range. So everything is nice and square down in the low RPM range. But we don't have a tune on the bike, we're just using the little dials on there to add a little bit more fuel for the exhaust, the snorkel. So that's why we're keeping it at the moment. So that is going to do it. Getting the Power Commander on the KLX300. Finally got a fuel controller on the bike. Probably a controller that most people didn't really think about. We're going to get this thing on the dyno, get a custom tune here. We have a mostly uncorked KLX351, so get ready for some stage 1 mods, KLX300 video. We're going to take it to the trails. Like I said, if you want to see an installed video, that'll be on my brother's channel here in a couple days. Be sure to stay tuned for some great desert action with the boys. We took the KX, was an absolute blast on there, and we got an exhaust on the KX, so you know it's going to be rowdy. But anything with the motor, you guys are in the right place. With all that being said, join the club, and I'll see you in the next one.